One thing you should do before you launch any survey: find someone, ideally someone's like 3 to 5 people minimum, you can do more if you want, to pilot. That means like test out, try out your survey questions. In research, we call this doing a cognitive lab or like a think aloud. And basically, what you do is you sit down with a person one on one and you have them take the survey, but you have them take it like out loud, narrating, like telling you all the thoughts they're thinking as they read through the question and the possible responses. Important note, when you're finding people to try out the survey, you want it to be people who share qualities with who will actually be taking the survey, right? So let's say I design a survey and I'm planning on giving it to third graders. I don't want to pilot the survey with adults, right? Or if I have a survey and I'm going to give it to women who are single and dating in their 30s, I don't want to pilot it with women who are married in their 50s, right? Like, you want to test a survey with a similar group of people who will be taking the survey. The point of this is so that you can understand how people are understanding your questions. Like, see if there are any points that they're struggling or that don't really make sense. See if they're actually answering the question in the way you thought people would answer the question, right? In the sense that, like, yeah, they understand what I'm asking and they're answering in a way that makes sense. This can also help you realize issues like, the choices don't make sense, or I'm missing choices, or I have way too many choices. Like, this is such a great exercise and like totally worth taking the time to do this. Here's a quick example of what this looks like. So for this little role play, pretend that I'm like, you've designed the survey question and I'm the person sitting down to do the pilot, the test, the think aloud, the cognitive lab. So you would say, Kirsten, what I want you to do is read the question and the possible responses out loud and then walk me through what you're thinking as you're answering this question. How long did it take you to land a job? So as I read that, I'm thinking, do you mean the current job that I'm in? Like the first job that I had? Any job that I've ever had? Do you want me to think of like the average amount of time it's taken me to land a job because I've had a few jobs? As the researcher or like the survey designer, you wouldn't say anything to that, right? You would just like listen and take notes on what I'm thinking. And you might say something like, okay, great. Like, you can move on to the answer choices now if they don't naturally move on. Okay, I see that the answer choices are 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 7 to 9 months, over a year. I'm still not really sure what job or like if it's an average you want me to think of, so I'm going to answer thinking of my current job. And so to get my current job, it took me 3 months. So it took me 3 months. 3 months shows up in the first bucket, 1 to 3 months, but it also shows up in the second bucket, 3 to 6 months. I guess it was just like, 3 months and like a little tiny bit. So I'm gonna say 1 to 3 months because I feel like it was like, I don't know, like barely 3 months. So I would pick that category instead, but it's a little confusing because 3 months shows up in 2 places. Then, if you had more questions in your survey, you would have them move on to the next questions, the next few questions. Do you see how just by doing that, just with one person, you could learn a lot about why that's not a very good survey question and, more importantly, how you can make it better? I have never gone through this process with people and not learned something incredibly useful that has helped me to improve a survey question. I just find it so insightful. I learn so much every time and highly recommend you do it. if you could only do it with one person, like, better than nothing. But I will say doing this process with more people is better, because you might find that, like, something that is confusing to one person isn't confusing to like 7 other people, and in which case you might not want to change it, right? Like, I always tell clients when we're going through this process, like, we'll do the first one and they're like, let's rewrite the whole survey right now. And I'm like, okay, like, let's not, because that's just one person's opinion. We want to get a few more opinions to decide what we really should change or not. And that's not like always the case, because some things are just like best practices. Like, you should never have overlapping answer categories, like having 1 to 3 months and 3 to 6 months, the 3 overlaps. Like, that's a bad practice. Change it even if only one person mentions it. But like, generally when you're getting feedback, you don't want to like completely rewrite something just because of one person's opinion if it doesn't align with like a best practice. So it's good to get more information. I hope that was helpful. Design some good questions, everyone.